You're listening to the Generational Wealth Through Commercial Real Estate podcast. Your host, Will Smith, is a former NFL player that found his passion in commercial real estate. Every week, you will learn from industry experts everything you need to know to get started investing in commercial real estate to build generational wealth.
Thank you for tuning in to the Generational Wealth Through Commercial Real Estate show. It's your host, Will Smith, and I'm here today with a real cool guest that's doing some really amazing things from afar. So we're going to definitely dig into that. But before we do that, if you're watching the show for the first time, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You know, I want to keep growing this, so hit that subscribe button now. And if you've been watching this show for some time and for whatever reason you just have not left a review, go ahead and leave me a review. I'm trying to get to 100 reviews, so guys, help me out, right? You know, these reviews are how I keep bringing on rock star guests like I have today, all right? So housekeeping is out of the way, so let's go ahead and jump into this. Today, we have Billy Keels with us. He's actually in Germany right now, and he's investing over here in the U.S., and he's doing some amazing things, man. So I wanted to bring him on so y'all could hear his story. So, Billy, how you doing today, man?
Hey, Will, I'm doing very well. And yeah, I would definitely say, even before we get started, definitely leave the reviews for Will, because he's adding so much value. I've been listening to your show, and I know that you're constantly asking the right questions. You're bringing a lot of value. So definitely subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the show, and definitely make sure that you leave that review for Will, because it is something that is very important. So especially when he's adding so much value to you. So and with that, just one small thing. So I actually traveled to Germany. I used to travel there a lot. I'm actually based in Spain. So I am here. Yeah, based here in Spain. So, but I'm across the sea, so it's all good. I still got the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
Still got the Atlantic Ocean between us, but yeah. So, and I'm really looking forward to having a great conversation with you, Will. I know we've had a chance to chat in the past, and just looking forward to continuing that conversation, man, today.
Absolutely, man. So, man, tell us a little bit about you, man. How did you get into real estate?
Wow. So I got into real estate because I was. I got into real estate because I was really tired of being the A student, right? I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah.
So, and with that, there comes some things that, you get going out and you're getting the good grades, and you're doing all the things, you get the right job, and you climb the corporate ladder, and you're doing all of the things that you're supposed to do. And then that part of your financial life, when they say, hey, you know what, make sure that you max out on your retirement plan, on your 401k. Right. I did that. Right. And I was doing that. And in 2000, I remember that there was this whole .com thing. And so there was a kind of a glitch, and my portfolio lost some value. And then after that, I was really concerned, man, because I come from a home that is very working class. We didn't have silver spoon in our mouth, didn't have any of that kind of stuff. Right. And so I was doing all the right things, and I got hit in the gut. And my parents always told me, if something happens, you got to get back up. It's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. And so I was doing that. And then I was talking to my financial advisor, because I never had a financial advisor before. And I felt like things were going on. And I kept hearing this thing of, just hold on, just wait it out. We're going to do some dollar cost averaging over time. You'll see that it'll come back. It'll come back. And it was doing exactly that. It was doing exactly that. And then in 2008, boom, I got hit again. And it was the second time. And it was kind of like I thought about my parents again, because they said, hey, look, you know what, if always get back up, and if something happens, if it happens once, then shame on them. If it happens twice, shame on you, meaning me.
Right. And
so I thought, wow, I got to figure out a different way to get control over my financial life, because that formula just was not working. And it was just at the same time that I happened to be with my girlfriend at the time. We were back in the States, and I saw in my dad and my stepmom's place that they had this little purple book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And as you probably know, just like many other people, that book, although I didn't finish it, Will, right at that time, I picked it up, and I just remember reading, and I was like, wow, this seems like outer space. This is really weird, because I didn't have anybody in my family that had anything to do with real estate. And so a couple years later, I picked it up, I finished reading it, and I thought, wow, this is really resonating with me a lot. It sounds like I can have much more control. It sounds like I can create cash flow, and all I have to do is be able to buy a couple of houses. And so I was all in on real estate, and I wanted to find out more about it at that point. That was kind of what started me in real estate. And then there are other things that have kept me kind of going in it. But that was kind of the genesis of what was happening, because I was just fed up with doing the right things and coming up on the short end of the stick.
Yeah. Now, what year was that when you initially said, okay, I'm ready to get in the real estate game?
Um, so let's see. So when I read that book, it was probably somewhere around 2009.
Yeah.
When I actually took action was I bought my very first small multifamily in 2013. My wife and I were in Cairo, Egypt.
Yeah.
And I remember we closed on that property long distance, and
Wow.
it was just that was the start of something. But it took me a while, man. I read the book and thought it was ready to go, and one thing led to the next. It's that paralysis analysis that us
Yeah.
recovering perfectionists sometimes suffer from.
Yeah, for sure, man. Good deal. So, what does your portfolio currently look like right now?
Yeah. So one of the things that I did, so there was I'll tell you that, but one of the things I didn't ever realize, because when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I always thought, well, I'm just going to go out, and I'm a high wage earner, and so I work in software sales, and I'm
Right.
very, very fortunate. And I thought, wow, I'm just going to keep buying houses, right? I'm just going to keep
Yeah.
buying these. I'm going to buy houses, and I've never purchased a house to this day.
Oh, wow.
And so so I've kind of gone away from that. Like, I love real tangible assets, but I have never purchased a home. So when I started out my portfolio, and I have a combination of active, which is what I thought was the only thing you could do, and then I found out about this whole passive investing world, which
Right.
really kind of changed things. And then when I started networking, meeting other people, it really opened up my sphere. So as of today, this hopefully will change very soon, but the total because I know we like to look at number of doors up until a certain point, is 361 doors.
Yeah.
I actually also have 14 ATM machines in my portfolio.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I own a mobile home park within those 361 doors. And then also too, I've recently started getting more and more involved in the energy space. And so I have also been, this is something that's just, I'm really excited about, doing something that's socially responsible, being able to create double digit returns, and also help with ordinary income. And that is with purchasing very large pieces of equipment that help with CO2 capture. So, so it's a bunch of different real assets, kind of it's still in that commercial space.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying learning about new things, man, because it is, I still believe multifamily is something that's really, really strong. And there's also a lot of other things that are out there too.
Right. No, I mean, multifamily is definitely going to always be there, because people are going to always need somewhere to lay their head. At the end of the day, somebody always got to find somewhere to sleep, right?
Always.
So that's key. But I want to hear about this ATMs, man. I don't know about ATMs. Tell the listeners and me what ATMs are all about, man.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, because I talk a lot about the ATMs, and it wasn't something that I was familiar with. And also, this is something that I do passively with others, because I'm a big believer in, I believe that your currency, or your money, depending on how you like to look at it, your currency should always be on the treadmill. Like, it always needs to be moving. And so when I didn't understand that there was this whole passive investing world, it was like, all right, a lot of money was just sitting there while I was looking for the next opportunity. And so through a network, I started hearing about ATM machines, and just like you, I was like, well, ATM machine, like, how does this work? This is because I was just around real estate people. And so when you start breaking it down, there is the whole ATM is actually it's a 2x2 machine, and it's sitting somewhere on a piece of real estate. And whether you're in an airport, or you're at a truck stop, or you're at what do you call it, at a shopping center, or I mean, you always see these little ATM machines. And so the cool part about it is, no matter what is happening, and the amount of money that they continue to print, right? Because this is something that we love doing. The Fed loves printing. And so there is going to be no shortage of bills in any time in the near future. And so with the ATM, you basically are, as a passive investor, you are purchasing into a fund, which is basically a blended set of, thousands of ATMs. And in that way, for someone like me who's looking to keep that part of my portfolio moving, it minimizes the downside. It also minimizes the upside, right? Because you're kind of spread across a number of things, but it creates predictable streams of cash flow month after month after month. And then, there are also tax benefits which is someone who is a high wage earner, it's something that's also very, very interesting when you can say, all right, well, look, I'm able to create returns that I'm receiving on a monthly basis, right? I have a long-term contract, and I am able to get tax benefits because of that, because it's a piece of machinery. And so that piece of machinery, you're able to get that. And, you've got your passive income losses. And so, so it's something that absolutely makes sense. It's also not a question of, how many people are going to be sleeping? What's the occupancy? It's more or less how much money is the Fed going to keep printing? Because as long as they're printing money, then there's always going to be people that are using, using cash as a means of exchange.
Right. So what risks are they involved with investing in ATM machines?
I think that the biggest thing that people typically talk about, Will, is, I don't use credit cards. And so if you don't use credit cards or you don't use ATM machines, meaning the person who's going to invest, you may think that nobody else is using ATMs. But the reality is there are a number of people in the United States that, there are millions, hundreds of millions of people that continue to use ATMs on a day-to-day basis. And that could be, like I mentioned, you're riding up and down the road, you need to get some cash, and you pull the cash out. There are also there are people that you're able to use your ATM machine card to do your banking, because you're not banking at a traditional quote unquote retail bank, and you use the ATM machine as your way of managing your currency. So I think it's always a matter of, who is the public that you want to serve, and whether that's as an active investor or passive investor, making sure that you understand that, there is someone that wants and needs the solution that you or the company or the team that you're partnering with provides. So, but I think the biggest thing typically people think is the biggest risk is, well, I don't use credit, I don't use cash, so nobody else is. I think that's one. There's another thing also too, is what happens if if I have an ATM machine that's in a place where people aren't traveling, like during COVID, people weren't really traveling. So what would happen? Well, it wasn't that people weren't traveling, they were just traveling less. But even those people that were traveling up and down the roads, they were still stopping and at the truck stops, and people were still going to restaurants and still wanted to leave their tips and all this other kind of stuff. So, it is true. It's a reality that there is more of a risk, but I can tell you that as a passive investor in that type of an investment, I have received my payment every single time on time. And, it's had great communication from the general partner. And so feel completely comfortable with that. And I'm very glad that part of my portfolio is creating exactly what I wanted to do, which was cash flow and also be able to create some tax benefits.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, man. So let's transition back to real estate. I just wanted to ask you about that because I always was curious about ATMs and that stuff, man. So you're investing passively. That's what you're focused on right now. Just kind of getting involved with syndications from a passive investor perspective, right?
That's correct. And I also have an active portfolio. The active portfolio is a smaller multifamily and mobile home park.
Okay.
And the equipment, which is also pretty interesting. Maybe we'll finish up talking about
that. Right. So tell me, man, the smaller stuff that you're doing, the smaller multifamily, are you still working on expanding that as well in conjunction with the syndication stuff you're doing, or you're focusing one over the other now?
Yeah, really, I love that question because when I started, that was where I started, Will. I mean, that was the place, because I was here. I didn't really have a system. I didn't really have a lot of forethought to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Actually, I just had money, and I just knew that I didn't want my money sitting in the stock market. And so at that point in time, I made a fear-based decision, is the way I like to call it, which is basically saying, hey, listen, I'm living in Europe. I love long distance investing. I didn't plan on moving back to the States. Still don't plan on moving back to the States anytime soon. Yeah. And I decided, I want my money to be moving. And so I made a decision based on, if this goes wrong, because I'd never invested in real estate before, is there somebody in my family that can go bail me out? Right. And so I didn't put any more thought into it. I have the money, I found a deal, and boom. And I realized pretty quickly that that's probably not the best way that's probably not the best process to be able to get the best return. Right. And I used to think of it just in terms of monetary return, now I realize that it's about so many different types of return, right? It's not just about the money, because when you start realizing it, if you're working in your day job and you're making money and you have more than enough money coming in that then you spend, then you start investing in real assets, and the same thing is starting to happen. You're like, okay, well, yeah, at a certain point, like what else can I be doing? And so, um, as that continued to move on, what I've now realized is that, and I have a clear process in terms of what I'm doing, I'm looking to transition out of those smaller units and really focus my time and my energy on larger type of assets, really B-class assets that are 100 units and above. Is really where my focus is now. And the primary reason is for that, and I probably could have done it sooner. I should have done it sooner now that I look back on it, just because there's so much more scale. I mean, you're buying a business. What I found out pretty quickly was when you buy the smaller multifamily, and I think that's fine to buy smaller multifamily, but especially if you have been working in a large corporate environment, you're used to, managing large teams, large cycles and things like that. Just buy a business, right? When you're buying a business that is, you're going to buy 5, 10, 15 million, you might as well start there, because then you actually buy it and you're purchasing a team that can manage the asset versus trying to figure out how you do that. Like, can you imagine? Well, I was managing properties from Spain. I mean, it's just, I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot. And so it was great.
Wow.
I just don't recommend that to other people, especially when you're going to do things long distance.
Yeah. But, I guess the flip side of that is, if this guy can do this from Spain, you ain't got no excuses being right here in the U.S. That's the truth, man.
And that is one of the biggest things. Well, it's kind of like sometimes when I listen to people and say, well, I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that, and I just want to think to myself, well, you just got to get out of your own mind, right? Because a lot of it, I mean, and you know this better than anybody else, and I know your audience does as well, because they're listening to you and they're learning from you, they're taking action. But the whole game is in between, these two ears, right? And so for those of you that are listening or on the treadmill or something like that, I was pointing to both of these ears. Like the whole game is here. And so, if you have the opportunity to start larger, why not just start larger? And I know we're saying that, and I know your audience hears it, and then when it's like you got to actually do it, you're kind of like, oh, well, hang on a second, let me look at this smaller unit. But,
but no, I mean, you make a really good point there, man. It really does come down to the mindset of actually believing that you can actually do it. I mean, I think back to when I played football, right? And first I came from a school that was really, really small. My graduating class had maybe 200 people max in it. And nobody ever got a full scholarship. And everybody said, oh, you can't do it. I didn't let that enter into my psyche. I told myself, hey, I'm going to get a full scholarship. Somehow, somewhere, I'm going to make it happen. And guess what? I got a full scholarship. And then the same thing, I went to East Carolina University, and, that's not one of the, the bigger schools that's out there. But I had in my mind that I was going to become a pro, and less than 1% make it. So if I bought into, man, that's impossible, or man, you talking crazy, like some of the guys from back home, man, what you talking about going to the NFL? What's wrong with you? Like, if I let that stuff enter into my mind, then I would have been screwed. So it's like, it's all about controlling your mindset, man, and really believing, that you can make it happen. And it don't matter what it is you're trying to get done. But, going back to real estate, if you believe you can do the larger deals, somehow, some way, you'll make it happen.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and this is taking a bit of a risk, Will. But if you go back to your high school, and you said there were 200 in your high school, and no one had ever received a full scholarship before, right?
Yeah.
Since then, has anyone else received a full scholarship from your high school that you're aware of?
Yeah, there has been some. That I was I blazed the trail for it, and it's like, okay, everybody's like, man, it is possible.
So, man, as soon as I think, so I'm gonna, because I think a lot about. I used to run track in high school, so I ran the 800, and I trained a lot on the cross country and the mile, and so we always talk about Roger Bannister, right? Who's the guy who broke the 4-minute mile, right? And so, Will, you did the exact same thing when people thought it wasn't possible.
Yeah,
you said, it is possible, and I'm going to be the one who blazes the trail. You did it, and since then, other people have done it. So you helped to break that barrier down to show other people that, hey, you know what? Will did it. I'm going to do it now.
Right.
And so, I commend you also for that, man, because you set the way for so many other people, just like you're doing here, to help set the bar high for your entire audience. so that they realize that, you know what, Will's doing it, I'm gonna do it too. I
Yeah.
can do it. I know how to do it. He's going to help me. He's going to show me. He's going to teach me the things that I need to do, that I need to know,
Yep.
so that I can be successful, so that you can be successful. So congratulations, man. I that's, you got me pumped up.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So man, let's talk about when you're looking at deals, because I mean, you got to do a lot of research on your side, because you can't drive by the property, you can't drive the market. You know, how do you decide on which properties to invest in or which deals to invest in?
Yeah, I love that. And so it's maybe a little bit of a long-winded answer.
Now let's go ahead. Let's hear it, man.
And to your point, Will, it's one of those things where I love control as well, right? And I know a lot of your audience probably loves control as well.
Right.
And so one of the things that has to happen is when you start to realize that there are multiple avenues to keep your currency always moving.
Yeah.
When you're in the active role, you know, that's really when you have a lot of control of what is happening day to day. You're selecting the team members, you're selecting the specific location, and then you're selecting the opportunity.
Right.
So when you look at it on the other side, on the passive side, you also have to, you know, part of what I learned before is when it's not just about the money, it's actually what is the process. I just follow a really simple process, right? And so in the process is no more complicated than 4 steps.
Right.
The first step, and goes to what you're asking me, is what is it that I'm really trying to achieve with this portion of my portfolio? Like, what is it that you want this portion of your portfolio to do? You know, I remember thinking to myself at a certain point, it was about, you know, I was tired of having this money just sitting in the bank and not really doing anything. Or every 8 years, it was just going to take a hit and I was going to have to work and all that stuff. And so I got to a point where it was like, all right, I just want this portion to consistently be growing, to create cash flow.
Right.
And also, and I started realizing later, it wasn't just about making the cash flow. It's about, can I get some tax benefits as well? Because I want to not just make more money, I want to keep more money. Like that's the thing that I was really focused on. And that's where, you know, you get to a certain point and it's like, I don't need to make all this money, but if I can keep, you know, 95% of what I make, I don't need to make as much. And I can still use my time the way that, you know, you can use your time the way that you want to do it. So it first started with a change in the mindset, which was, how do I go to understand what it is that I'm personally trying to achieve? And once that was clear, creating cash flow, and you can get as detailed as you want. You can say, hey, listen, over a 3-year span or a 2-year span, I want to be able to create at least 15% IRR, or you may say over 5 years, I want it to be more, or whatever the case may be, right? And that's going to be very unique for each person. How much time do you want it to be in? How not? And so once that part of the box is ticked, then as a passive investor, I'm really interested in where can I go? Like, what location is going to provide me the types of benefits that I'm looking for? Like, if I know that I'm looking for strong cash flow and tax benefits, just kind of knowing what we know about MSAs, I'm probably not going to go to Los Angeles. I'm probably not going to go to New York City. I'm probably not going to go to downtown Chicago, right? I mean, so I'm looking for then the locations that are going to provide me with what I need to be able to sleep well at night. Then after that, and then this for me is the third and most critical part, is being able to say, okay, now that I know the location, which team knows this location better than anybody on earth, right? And if you feel like you make a better connection with self-storage, or you make a better with multifamily, because you know that people always are going to need to sleep in a place. And if you want to be associated with a D-class property, or a C-class property, or a B-class property, or an A-class property, then you need to find those team members that understand that resident that you want your money to be able to serve. Right. And so then once you have that team in place, and you're then vetting the team, you understand how long have they been in this area? How many types of units are they operating and managing? Do those units or do those complexes look like the one that you want to invest in? If they do, then there's probably a good chance there's going to be some success. If they don't, you probably need to check that, you know, you want to place your capital with this particular operator or syndicator that's going to work with an operator. And then at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to look at the specific opportunity. So I kind of flipped it on its head in the beginning. I just looked at, what is the opportunity? Can I place my money? And now when I look at it, it's like, I know what I want in my mind. strong cash flow and tax benefits. I know that I'm in the markets that are going to provide those, or in the locations that are going to provide those. I'm working with teams that understand those locations, and ultimately those teams, as syndicators or operators, are investing in the type of asset that aligns with what I'm looking for. So hopefully that kind of clarifies at least the way that I'm doing things now versus kind of when I started in the beginning.
No, that makes perfect sense, and I really like the way you broke that down. That is very, very simple for people that's just trying to get started. If they go back and listen to that again, rewind it, and go back and listen to it again, that was some good stuff, man. For sure.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Okay, man. So, if you could remember back when you was first getting going, what was the biggest challenge you found?
Wow, the biggest challenge that I found was just I needed to, in terms of investing. Well, the first and probably the most obvious one for me was just how in the world am I going to do this across the Atlantic Ocean? Because originally I thought I was going to buy property here in Spain, like here in my backyard. And then I started realizing that what I wanted was like we just talked about. Once I got clear on what it was, then I realized, okay, well, I've got to figure out the right way to do things. And I was thinking, how am I going to manage all this from such a long way? And that was the biggest challenge that I had. I had to get out of my own head again. But that, once again, it came down to the mindset. So I had to get out of my own head to actually take action and get moving, man. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah, for sure. And this is off topic, but I was just thinking about, man, I got one of my buddies, man. I believe he plays for one of the professional teams in Spain, man. I got to connect you guys so you guys can link up, man.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think he's over here trying to invest as well, but he's overseas just like you. So, man, you'll be a great connect for him, man.
Okay, cool, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, so you talked about you look at markets and you look at the deals, but you look more so at, does this deal give me the kind of return that I'm looking for, right? So that's the most important thing for you. It's not so much, let me get a C class or B class, but does it give me the cash flow I'm looking for? Is the team in place? Can they manage this asset? Can they, produce the results they're projecting? That's the most important thing to you. Would you agree?
Well, you know what? I actually would. I would like to agree with you. But the reality is, man, where I am now, especially for passive investors, I really am looking at the team. Like, who is the team that is going to be day in, day out managing that asset? Because you can have an amazing asset in a terrible team. Or let me not say a terrible team, but you can have an amazing, like, imagine, we go out, well, we're going to buy this property and we buy this A-class property. It's brand new. And the team that we have in place, they're used to managing D plus C minus properties.
Right.
So when the resident that is in the A property is expecting a certain type of service, and our property management company or our suppliers, they're doing exactly what they should be doing. They're just doing it for a different type of person that we want to serve. Like, that's a misalignment. So although I've got a great asset and it on paper should work out really, really well, if the day-to-day operations don't mix, then I've just put my money and a whole lot of dreams and free time and all of the things that I have associated with placing that capital, I've just put it at risk. And so I'm at this point in my journey, especially when I'm doing it passively, but even actively, I want to make sure that all these different team members align and understand the specific location. And most importantly, that they understand how to manage the opportunity or that asset. Because if they don't, then I'm going to have a lot of sleepless nights, man. And I don't sleep very much, Will, but the very little bit that I do sleep, that I sleep, I like to sleep well, man. I like to sleep well.
That makes perfect sense, man. And you made a really good point there about choosing the right manager for the asset class you're going with, because there's, just like you said, man, some managers are really good with dealing with the low income demographic, and you got others that, hey, they're good with just dealing with, hey, new product, new tenant base. They know what they expect. They know how to talk. They talk the same language. So that's a really, really good point you made there, man. So you guys should write that down for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Will, and it's one of those things. I also, being here in Europe, I've kind of taken a liking to eating a lot, and so you just mentioned it, and there is no, like, you can go to a 3-star Michelin restaurant, you can go to a fast dining, or you can go to a fast food restaurant, or you can kind of go to a slow dining, right? And so all three of those serve food.
Right.
And all three of those will help you to get what you want, different types of nourishment. But it would be kind of weird if you had the maitre d' welcoming you at the entrance of McDonald's or vice versa, right? It's just not that one is better or worse, but they're just there to do different things because they're serving a different client.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that the maitre d' is actually at this 3-star Michelin restaurant, and you've got the person smiling behind the desk at McDonald's, because they're the ones that are going to help you get your order done really quickly. So
right, for sure. Man, that's a good point. I like that analogy there. All right, man. So let's segue to the next segment of the show. Let's talk about a deal that you did. One of the ones that's in your portfolio that you personally own. How did you find it? How many units was it? Is it a value add deal? And what's the exit strategy for it?
Yeah, sure. And if you allow me to change it just a little bit, I think the best one that I'd like to tell you about was the mobile home park that I purchased. And because it's multifamily, right? And the multifamily was something that I had to get out of my own mind again. And we keep coming back to the same concept, Will. Like, I didn't think that, I talked to my broker, I built the relationship, right? And I did that from Spain. So we really spent a lot of time. We did phone calls, we did Zoom sessions. And when the relationship really meant enough, I got on a plane, flew to meet the broker to show him that I'm not just out there kicking tires, man. I really want to invest in a property. And so at that time, I was thinking about different types of assets, but I flew over and we had a couple properties under contract, and then the home inspections came back and things weren't really what they were. And the sellers, they decided they wanted to do other things. So through all these conversations, we realized that my broker understood really what I was wanting to achieve, like what the asset should provide me. And so he was fantastic. And he brought this mobile home park to me, and I was like, man, I don't want no mobile home park. I have no idea. Like, and this is just from my own biases in my brain. Because I'm thinking cops, I'm thinking this, that, all the stuff that I'd seen on TV. And I was like, nah, man, I don't want anything. I don't want anything to do with that. And my broker was really, really, really persistent. He was like, Billy, you hang on a second. You told me, this is after over a couple of weeks, you told me that you were looking for strong cash flow. You were looking for tax benefits and blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, then look, man, I know you keep telling me no, but listen, we've got this situation is here. He explained the situation again and again and again. And finally, I was like, yeah, you know what? Why not? And I'll look at it. And he sent me these pictures, and it was like no mobile home park I'd ever seen in my life. And so once I had a chance to speak to the owner, and this was doing this over the phone, eventually it made sense. I went over stateside. My wife and I actually went down to see this particular mobile home park. And what we were able to do is we were able to help this gentleman who owned the mobile home park for quite a long time. He was ready to get out, and he didn't want to have his children fight over what was going to be one of the assets that he left. So through it all, we really was able to me get out of my own head, to see the importance of a really strong team that understands what it is that you're trying to achieve as an investor. And then be able to broker an arrangement that makes sense for your buyer and for you. And without a doubt, we've continued to improve on the mobile home park. It's over 8 acres. And it has been probably one of the best performing assets in my direct portfolio. And it was something, imagine, like, well, I didn't even want to do it because I just had my own biases. And I'm so thankful for having a broker that really understood what I wanted to be able to achieve. And like I said, this is, in terms of multifamily, this is the one that is performing the best without a doubt. Right. And so I've even started looking for others, but yeah, so that was one of those things that really, really worked out, multifamily. And it was something that we continued to add value. We're looking to do some additional pads and things like that. So, so that was that's been a shining star.
Okay. So let me ask you about the park. Did this park have city water, city sewer?
It has city water, but it has septic.
Okay. So they own septic. Okay.
Yep.
And when you purchased it, how much were the lot rents under market, or were they at market?
No, wow. So you're taking me back a ways. They were definitely under market. And one of the things I remember is they were probably I want to say, it's been a little fuzzy now, but it's probably about $150 to $200 per pad that we've raised.
Wow.
And they're still at at market. I mean, and keep in mind what's going on. So,
yeah,
but Will, this is one of the things that, that this happens a lot when you have someone who has been managing a park. Sometimes it's just a matter of saying, well, we just want to keep it full. And so you keep you keep the lot full.
Yeah.
But at what cost, right? And so when you have someone that maybe owns a park that's free and clear, they just would rather have the same residents that they've had for the last 20 years, and residents happy, they're happy, and they just kind of go. But once you realize that, hey, look, this is an amazing property. This is in the middle of the path of progress. This is a place where there are really a lot of great opportunities. And, since the properties have had, we've been able to raise rents, and we still have been able to maintain the majority of the residents. Right. And so it's not a matter of, of not being able to maintain it. It's just a matter of, if you don't look to increase the rents, then you're just never going to know. So
that's right. That's right. Now, what percentage of the homes are park owned, and what percentage are tenant owned?
So roughly 75 are park owned, meaning that I own them, the 25, or maybe it's 70-30, maybe 70-30.
Yeah. Gotcha. Cool, man. That's that's very interesting. Now, what's the exit strategy for this property?
Well, for the moment, we're gonna hold it. We're gonna hold it for a while. And the biggest thing is right now, because there's a lot that is happening and has happened in Charlotte. So I bought this back in the end of 2018. I think it was the end of 2018 or middle 2018. And 2 years later, there was a big announcement that the Carolina Panthers were actually moving their training facility out to the area where my mobile home park is. And so that's just created a whole nother bit of demand that, once again, if my broker hadn't really invested in talking to me and telling me about what was going on, there's an opportunity of lives that I impacted that I would have just not even paid attention to. And on top of that, now we're in a very advantageous position, because the path of progress is going right in that particular area. And so for those that are not familiar with what that is, and I know there are very few, because I know you talk about this, it's just basically where things are beginning to move. Right. And we're in Charlotte MSA, but we're actually just across the state line. So it's a great, it's been a great opportunity. It's been a really, really great investment since we've been on it.
Awesome, man. That's a pretty sweet deal. No wonder you're looking for more deals. Yeah. Oh man, good deal, man. So let's go ahead and transition to the last segment of the show, man. It's our lightning round. A couple questions for you, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What's the best advice you ever been given?
Start before you're ready.
That's good. That's
really good. Start before you're ready. And that's something that resonates with me, because I am, like I mentioned, I am a recovering perfectionist, and it's something that I've continued to think about every single day. And when I'm like, well, I need to figure, no, I don't need to figure this out. Somebody else on my team needs to figure this out, and who else can help me with this, and who can do that, and who is able to do that. So start before you're ready. Yeah. Without a doubt.
Good deal. And for the ones that's listening to this podcast, he got like 1 million books behind him. So, man, out of those 1 million books behind you, man, what's your favorite one, man?
I'm reading a number of different books. I mean, I just finished a book called The Deficit Myth. I read The Compound Effect not long ago. I'm actually reading. I'm reading a book right now. It's just right behind me. It is Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. It's 50 Cent. That I was recommended to read, and it has been fantastic. I'm reading Free to Focus as well, so I'm kind of doing two things at once. But the one that I would say without a doubt that's had the biggest impact on me as an investor, is The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. Without a doubt, it helped me to understand the money game. It helped me to understand debt, what it really is, why it's important, why you should not fear it if you're using it properly. That book is just, and it's the biggest book I've ever read in my life. But it's one that I even pick up nowadays every year just to go back through and read it. It's just, and if you come from a middle-class family that you don't have a money culture where people talk about things, that book just will leave you it left me, boom, just even to this day. And I read it 4 or 5 years ago. It's amazing. The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin.
I'm gonna have to check that. I never heard it. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Will, yes.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, cool. What are some rituals that you've created as an investor, or just person in general that's made you a better person?
Without a doubt, Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning. That is something that I do every single day. And maybe every once in a while I'll take a day off and just kind of hang out.
Yeah.
But without a doubt, I love starting my day with silence.
Yeah.
It just helps me moving into those affirmations. After I get that affirmation and just help me focus on what's positive, then I get into that visualization. I look at the things that I really want to be, the things that I want to continue to do, the things that I want to continue to have and help others. After that, I like to get my exercise in. I like to get my reading in, and I love being able to journal, or scribing as he likes to call it, although I'm not very good at it. It's just a great way for me to reflect on what is happening, what is going to happen, and the effect and the impact that those things have on my life. And it's also interesting when I go back and read them now, after having done this over a couple number of years, just to kind of see where I was at any particular moment in time. So that ritual is something that I really love and I live by.
Yeah. Good deal, man. What is the one thing you're focusing on right now to help you improve your business?
Oh man. Well, there's a new type of project that I'm really focusing on that is helping me to attract new investors, which is something that I'm really excited about, because it's one of these things where I'm helping people that are high wage earners not only create double-digit returns, but being able to bring in some tax benefits against ordinary income, which is something that we don't normally see. So that is really kind of motivating me a lot. But if we think about kind of what Michael Gerber would talk about, like working on the business right now, it's really who else can I bring on board to help my business scale? And I don't want to have a business that is, hundreds of thousands of customers. That's not my goal. Or, I want to have very few clients that I know that I can get on a plane, that they can fly here and visit me. I can fly and visit them. We can have lunch. We can talk. We can do and have inspiring type of conversations. But in order to do that, I can't be a part of every single part of the process. And so it's about making sure that there are people that are orchestrating parts of the business, right? Specifically operations, and then also on the digital marketing side of things, just to really orchestrate those roles.
Nice. Good deal. If you can give your younger self, one tip in regards to investing, what would that be?
Learn about tangible assets as early as you can. As early as you can. Do not rely on the 401ks, the stocks, the fast stuff like that. I mean, it's one of these things. Even today, I watch and I see so many people that are just on the paper assets. And I guess I have some passion about this, because I've just seen what can happen when you are investing your time and your energy into real assets and real relationships with people that also understand that real asset in that specific location, in the specific opportunity. I think if I could tell my younger self, that is, learn more about real asset investing, real estate sooner rather than later, and take action.
Gotcha. Well, Billy, man, that's the end of the show, man. Tell my listeners, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, there's a couple different ways, if you don't mind me letting them know. I mean, you talked about it before. So long distance investing is something that is clear and dear to my heart. And I have a podcast, the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels. You can find it on pretty much every single station. It's pretty passive. You can listen to it there. The Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, I think is a great way to learn more about long distance investing as well. And from there, if people want to just reach out and have a conversation, they can go to bit.ly/speak with Billy. That's BILLY. And for those people that want to understand just more about me, they can go to billykeels.com. And if anybody wants a free ebook, they can go to growyourmoneythesmartway.com. Perfect.
Well, Billy, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. You gave us some good stuff today, man.
Hey, Will, this has been really, really, really an awesome conversation. I hope that your audience has also found some value in it today. And I'm looking forward to connecting with your buddy who's over here in Europe, man. And love to come back. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Generational Wealth Through Commercial Real Estate podcast. Brought to you by Onyx Capital Investments. Onyx Capital Investments works with investors nationwide to invest in income-producing real estate in emerging markets. Connect online at www.onyxcapitalinvestments.com to learn more about what we're doing. If we have added value to your life, please leave us a review.